Hi, I'm Jamie. I'm 19 years old and I have autism.
For almost 20 years, I've been explaining to people why my 19-year-old brother Jamie does things the way he does, and why sometimes he acts in a way that isn't considered to be normal. And what I tell the people who are brave enough to ask and not just stare and whisper is that Jamie has autism, and to him, this is normal. If you pick up a dictionary and look at the word normal, it tells you that normal means conforming to a standard or common type. Personally, I hate the word normal. Autism is a social disability that affects the way people with it communicate and relate to others. It is a spectrum disorder. This means that while there are struggles all people with autism will face, it affects them all differently. We are all somewhere on the autistic spectrum. Jamie has high-functioning autism, one of the milder forms. To the untrained eye, Jamie appears to be normal. However, his lack of understanding of certain situations can bring him difficulties. So instead of explaining to everyone why Jamie doesn't act normal, I've made this film to show people and hopefully educate people about high-functioning autism and how it affects everyday life. One thing that Jamie desperately wants is the independence that my sister and I receive. He feels the way to gain this is through learning to drive. In this film, we look at Jamie's journey to finally gaining that independence.
What autism means to me is, in my case, it really makes me who I am, but in some ways it's a bit of an obstacle. Especially with socializing. I find things more difficult than some people do. Change, traveling, socializing, basic learning skills I find really difficult.
Has autism helped you with?
It's helped me with my artwork.
Do you think it's made you more creative?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it allows me to be myself, really.
What would you like to change about autism if you could?
Make it easier for me to socialise with people.
Why do you want to learn to drive?
I think it's a major life skill, really. I think at some point nearly everyone should learn how to do it. Even if they don't, they should know how to. And I'm coming at that stage where I want to go places, and so not to rely on my parents all the time to take me.
And do you think it'll give you more independence?
I hope so.
What sort of places would you drive to?
Probably drive to work, college. I'd be able to take myself to a car boot. I love car boot sales. So hopefully be able to take me to places that I like.
In order to learn to drive, what are the stages you need to do?
Well, the main thing that you need to do is you have to take what I'm really dreading. You have to take a theory test.
Why are you dreading it?
I'm not very good when it comes to test papers. Don't like tests.
Why not?
Well, no one likes tests, personally. It's not the nicest thing in the world.
Have you been practicing it?
No, I've been practicing. I'm nearly there. Just have to get it booked now.
What sort of scores have you been getting?
The average pass is about 45. 43 is the earliest pass you can get, and it goes up to 50. Anything below 43 is a fail.
And what have you been getting?
I've been passing for a while. 47, 46. I got full marks one time. 43. So varies.
Is that questions and hazard perception?
Yeah.
Which one do you like better?
The hazards, because you just have to watch a video and click the hazards.
Do you find it easier to look for it visually?
Yeah, I learn better by doing than reading in a book.
For any young person learning to drive, it takes courage, concentration and control. These are three things that might not come so easy to certain people on the autistic spectrum, and these are some of the things that Jamie often struggles with. This meaning that it was of the utmost importance for my parents to hire an experienced and patient driving instructor to teach Jamie. I caught up with Paul, Jamie's driving instructor, who he's been learning with for around 18 months. I wanted to see how he thought it was different teaching someone with autism how to drive.
I think with Jamie, for example, with your brother, he's so determined, and therefore, if you really want to do something, I think you will do it more times than not. And he's so single-minded and he wants to do it, and therefore we will ultimately get there. It will not be a quick process, as it hasn't been, but he is learning and he is improving as a driver all the time. And I think quite a lot of the time it's familiarity. makes it easier. So the more he practices, the easier it becomes.
Well done. Now, if you look at the road markings now, do you know which lane you need to go into?
But there aren't. There's hardly. They're not very clear, though.
No, they're not. The lights are changing there.
Yeah.
Now, as you look at the roundabout up ahead,
Yes.
which direction are we going in?
Oh.
Indeed. And then if you look at the road markings now, can you see which lane you're going to need to be in?
That one.
Yep, so how do we change lanes? Good. And blind spot. There we go.
Have you ever taught someone with any sort of special needs how to drive before?
Yes, I have taught probably another 2 or 3 other pupils while I've been doing this job with slightly milder cases or milder forms than Jamie's,
Yeah.
and say learning disabilities as well. And it's a very similar path that you take with them, in that you just have to take your time, you have to be extra patient, and you realise if they do make a mistake, it's not because they're deliberately trying to cause you any harm, they are just learning, simple as that. And as I say, if you want to get there, you'll get there.
Regarding his theory, how
Yes.
how is that? Is he on lessons? Is he like taking that in, or do you think it's just like?
I will always ask him questions where I think that things like today, I've just asked him what, say, double solid lines are in the middle of the road, you know, no overtaking, and as soon as I mention it, he's like, oh, I do know this, but he's forgotten. So I just try and remind him as much as I can with those things. The theory test for Jamie, again, is he's just looking at booking it, I think, soon now, and because of the concentration issues which he has, then the 50 questions that he has to take, we've managed to sort out where he can get hopefully a room by himself, and he will have extended time, so therefore he'll be able to get up and have a walk round after he's done 10 or 15 questions, which is something that we've worked on, so that hopefully, because his concentration doesn't last as long,
Yeah.
so therefore he can then have a walk round and hopefully then he'll be fine.
Two people that know Jamie even better than he knows himself are Susan and David Marks, our parents. I spoke to them to see if they could give us an insight into Jamie's autism from a parent's perspective. When did you realise Jamie was a bit different to other children growing up?
Well, he didn't pass his milestones like you did, and there was only a year between the two of you, so I naturally compared him to your milestones. However, because he'd had pneumonia and he'd had asthma and he'd been in and out of hospital so much, we just put it down to that he was developing late because he'd been in hospital so frequently. And then when he went to primary school, the primary school teacher started to point out quite a few differences about him.
So explain the diagnosis procedure and how that felt to you as a mother.
Well, I'll always remember the words that the woman said to me, and it was such a blow. And I think they should think about how they say these words initially to parents, because it's always stayed with me. And she said, it's autism and there is no cure. It was such a dreadful thing to say, because there is hope with autism. There's lots of things they can do, but no, it never does go away. And from having little problems when he was a baby, now he's got different problems now that he's a young man. Oh, cool. Right, thumbs up.
No.
Oh, hand on your nose. Let's get a close up of the fish.
And I had a coconut macaroon.
Well done. Thank you, David.
Explain the fight that you had in your hands to get him statemented and get him the right help.
Okay, so when he started primary school, in fact it's a funny story, when he started primary school, Susan took him in and said to the teacher, you know, he can be a little bit difficult and a little bit of a handful on his first day. And the teacher, who was a very experienced primary school teacher, in fact she was the deputy head of the school, said, oh, don't worry, Mrs. Marks, I've dealt with all kinds of children, nothing's going to be a problem. And when she went to pick him up at 3:30, her reaction was slightly different, which was, I have never in my whole life had a child that just wandered round for the whole day and didn't appear to listen. and we were introduced at that point to somebody called a Senko. We didn't know what one was, but a Senko is in charge of special needs coordination at a school. And her reaction was, there will be help in place for him, but you won't get it because the local authority won't have the money. So I did a little bit of research, and we started to look into it. Once again, he'd had no diagnosis. He was still having speech and language therapy, which we were paying for, but no diagnosis. And initially the local authority didn't want to know. And they said, you know, we have budget constraints, and I had been advised, and I went down the line of, I'm not really interested that you say you've got no money. The law of the land is that every child is entitled to an education and to access the national curriculum, and if they can't do that under the normal way, then things have got to be put in place to allow them to do that. And it isn't my concern that they've got no money, and it isn't my concern that they may have children that are more disabled than Jamie was. I can only concern myself with one boy. And I said, and he's drowning, and I'm not prepared to let him drown. And with that, I stamped my little feet very loudly, and eventually we got some help so many hours a week.
So, what we're going to do now is, let me see. You're going to be a friend, okay? That's who you are. And Jamie Marks, your job in this one is, Jamie's your friend, okay? And you're going to pretend to ask him if he wants to come to your house to play at the weekend, okay? So, remember what you've got to do. You've got to be looking at him. Okay, and Jennifer, you've got to be looking and listening as well, and me and Georgia and Mrs. Dalton are going to be checking to see if you're doing that right. Okay, are you ready? Off you go.
Would you like to jump around and play the weekend? Yeah, I will ask Mummy.
You're going to ask your mummy? Okay, what would you say?
Don't ask your mummy if you'd like to.
Okay, well done. Go and ask your mummy if you'd like to.
What time would I come? Before lunchtime. Okay.
Okay, right. I think that was very, very good. Well done. That was really nice.
Explain how you felt as a father when Jamie did get finally diagnosed with autism.
Made no difference by that stage. Didn't bother me either way, because Jamie was what he was. I was upset. I'd been upset enough that he was different and he was struggling. The fact that it had a name now was irrelevant.
How did you explain to Jamie about his autism?
Well, we thought we wouldn't say anything until he started to question it himself. And it was about must have been year 3 or 4, he was like 7, 8, something like that. And he kept saying things about my naughty brain. And he was trying, but his brain was naughty. And so we did it with the speech and language therapist. She put in some input professionally, and then we backed it up at home. And we told him that there were lots of children like Jamie, except he was the only one probably in his school or in his class. But there were lots and lots of children like Jamie, and it had a name, and it was called autism. And that he should be proud of who he is, which he's really proud of who he is. And then I think he actually seemed quite relieved when we explained it all to him, and he made sense of it himself. No, let me just show you something.
Oh, what's wrong with that one?
Push it right in, like that. Okay, and then it'll go right down to the bottom. Okay?
When did you decide to take Jamie out of mainstream education?
Well, when he started to struggle, we thought we'd stay there as long as he could manage. And then when he started to struggle and find it very difficult, and we were having problems with him, that's when we decided to take him out.
Plus he was, as I said before, he was at school, which was a very high achieving school. So in year 5 the work rate cranked up and he really couldn't cope. And it broke my heart because I wanted to keep him in mainstream. I never really wanted him in specialist education. Not that I knew much about it, but the stigma and everything like that.
When Jamie was 7 years old, one of his teachers at school gave him the opportunity to play Henry VIII in a play. This was a really good outlet for Jamie, and he picked up his lines really quickly. And because of his good memory, he also knew everyone else's lines and all the stage directions.
As long as you give me a big palace to live in where I can eat my favourite food all day, chocolate. Anything to get rid of you, madam!
So what was the application process for him to get into Wargrave?
Well, the problem that you have is that specialist education and special schools are very, very, very expensive. And the local authorities don't really want to pay for it. At the time, and I don't know if it's different now, the government edict was inclusion, and they tried to include kids with special needs in mainstream secondary schools that may have a unit or what have you. But we did some research, and our view was to include Jamie in a specialist unit with kids of all different special needs wouldn't help him at all. You know, if he was mixing with kids with ADHD and things like that, it really wouldn't be any good to him at all.
So in actual fact, to get the funding to get him to go was very bittersweet, because we managed to get him funding, but it was still very heartbreaking to think that he warranted the funding, if you know what I mean. It was good that he was going to get paid, but it broke our hearts that he warranted it. But all the children at these specialist schools are all paid for by their local authority.
And they can cost £25,000 to £30,000 a year. But the funny part about it was we also took the view on that we didn't want to be railroaded by the local authority. And by that I mean, well, we've got provision here and this is where he's got to go. So Susan made it her business to research all the secondary schools in the area, both in and out of borough, who had specialist units. So that if they turned around, both private as well as in the public sector, so that if the local authority said, well, what about school A or school B, we were in a position to say, well, we've had a look at that and we've spoken to the headmaster and really it's not for Jamie. And then we started to do the same with specialist education, and we were down to 2, but the moment that Susan saw Wargrave, she knew that that was the right place for him.
Then we had a fight to get him in, because there were 6 places. By the time we found it, I think 4 of them were already gone.
So we went about pushing and pushing and pushing, and the funny story was that the deputy head of Wargrave had to come and see him in the school environment that he was in. So we thought, well, we'll take him off all his supplements, his vitamin supplements and what have you, which we thought were doing him good, and hopefully that when she comes to see him, he'll misbehave so that it looks like he definitely needs to go to specialist school.
Or be difficult, or struggle.
Or be awkward and struggle. Anyway, the funny part was I dropped him in the school that morning and left him with the teacher, and we told the teacher, you know, make it a bit tough for him so that he'll struggle, to see what would happen. And I then rang Wargrave to say, just out of interest, what are you expecting to see? Do you want to see a difficult child, or would you prefer to see a child that's compliant and trying very hard? And he said it was the latter. I then turned the car around, ran back into school like a lunatic, grabbed hold of the teacher and said, all bets are off, give him 2 + 2, anything to make him look good. And everybody's laughed about that ever since.
She would never win your Sam. I'm grateful, man named Henry. I'm Henry the 8th I am.
What sort of help did Trafford actually give you then, when he was diagnosed?
Well, I mean, to be fair to Trafford, it was Stockport that gave it to us. One of the problems was Jamie went to a school in the borough of Stockport, but the finance had to be provided by Trafford Borough Council because we lived in Trafford. So we were fighting City Hall, as it were. But to be fair to them both, they worked together and they did help. And even before his diagnosis, they put a number of hours in place, which involved a helper, some of whom were good, some of whom were useless, and also access to speech and language therapy. And a girl called Becky Shanks used to come in, I think, once a month, as I recall. Once he'd had his statement, he got a little bit more help.
When Jamie left Wargrave 10 years later, describe like his struggles and everything, leaving like such a safe place.
He found it very difficult indeed. He actually broke down in tears. It hit him at the Leavers concert, and that was the worst time for him.
Yeah, but you've also got to understand that we're all creatures of habit, but autistic people are more so. They like the comfort zone. They like to know what.
He had no timetable to go to.
And
he had nothing solid that he was going forward to. So he had a very tough summer all round.
To be fair to him, though, he did remarkably well adapting after a few weeks. It took him about a month. And in fact, the first day, there was a story at that they still tell at Wargrave. It came to break time on his first day. And they said, right, we're all going out into the playground now. And Jamie went, no, I'm not doing that. So why not? He said, I didn't do that at my last school.
He said, I don't go out to play.
I don't go out to play. And they said, but at this school you do. Now you have a choice. You can either go out to play or we can escort you. Needless to say, he was dragged and escorted to the playground to play. After that, he went out to play every day. As we've always said, he's not unintelligent and he realises that sometimes he just can't win.
Didn't he say something like...
Oh yes, he turned around. Yeah, he said to the headmistress.
The next day, the headmistress said to Jamie, I'm so pleased to see that you went out to play on your own. I was really proud of you like that. He said, it's not going to happen today because you're fired and I'm going to burn the school down. And we went out to play the next day.
I'm going to get you sacked. I'm going to get you the sack, he said.
Ever since I can remember, Jamie has always been drawing and creating things. Many autistic people have a special interest which they obsess over. Thankfully, Jamie's is art. It helps him convey emotions that he might not be able to otherwise, and he thoroughly enjoys it.
I just said I might wanted to show you what I've been doing in art, and I show people basically what I'm doing in the art course right now. So I'm working on sort of like these squares here, and each one's got a J in it for Jamie, and I've gone for a different style on each of them. Each 5 represents a different season, so that's spring, summer, and I'm working on autumn at the minute, so that should be quite good. So hopefully I'll show you when it's done.
Why do you think his art is such a massive part of his life for him?
He's very good at it, and a lot of autistic children are very good.
I don't know why it's a massive part of his life. I think it's something that he just enjoys, and he gets comfort from doing it, and he realises that he's quite good at it, and it's something that he's always
developed and completely self-taught.
Yeah, he just enjoys doing it. The next step forward with it would be to hopefully to encourage his imagination to take on artistic projects out of his imagination, rather than most of the stuff really has been copying.
He has recently started to create puppets using his drawings for inspiration. Okay, so explain to me a bit about each puppet then that you've made.
Well, this one I made for Wargrave, which was the last thing I did for them before I left. Hi, I made this movie because it shows me being me. Brutus and I talk about my time at Wargrave House School and Lakeside, what I have done, what I've achieved, and what I hope to achieve in the future. How old were you when you came to Wargrave? I'm not sure, probably about 11, but I know it was in 2003. Were you as weird as you are today? Believe it or not, I was a lot quieter back then. Brutus, based on the sculpture I made for them. This is probably my latest full one, Mad Quacker. Just a duck, really, because this was going to be for the youth centre I used to help out before it went down, so I ended up changing him. I'm a chameleon. Most of them come across as doodles, really, or something come up. They don't really all have backstories, really. They're just ideas which I came up with.
Which was the first one you made?
This one. Frankie Ferg.
Why did you make him?
I thought about... Well, I like puppets, and so I just thought I'd try and do one myself. And that's how he showed up. He turned out.
How did you make him?
Very simple. Well, first I had to teach myself to sew, and then I just had to stitch everything up. Really, I followed the pattern basically. So.
Cool. Do you make puppets for the people?
I have done in the past.
Cool. What about the other two on the end?
They came off as doodles as well. Killer goldfish and the shark, really. They're all doodles, really. Nothing big.
That's cool. Which one are you most proud of?
I don't know, really. I don't have favourites.
What about Kermit at the back?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I will say that because that took me ages to do, so...
Let's see him.
Probably my best one.
Cool. Why do you enjoy doing them?
I don't know. You ask me all these things and I don't think about it. I just do it. Really. I don't know how to explain it. I just do it.
Do you like bringing your creations to life?
Yeah. I suppose that's it, really.
Do you think it's something you could do in future?
Maybe. I don't know.
Jamie and I have a sister. Annabelle is 15 years old, and like my parents and I, she's become accustomed to Jamie's ways. I wanted to see what her opinion was on having an autistic sibling, and the strengths and struggles that may come with that. What's it like having a sibling with autism?
At times it can be hard, but, you know, I feel like he teaches me and others how to be like a better person, handle all the situations. Because of some of his struggles, it makes me want to be like more helpful and things and try and help him out and things like that, if you understand.
Do you think it makes you more sensitive to other people with autism?
Oh, yeah, and people with other special needs and things.
What's the most irritating thing about Jamie having autism?
His volume control. But like, when I'm trying to sleep at night, I'll have like a big exam like the next day or something, he'll just be shouting and it'll be extremely irritating.
Describe a situation where Jamie having autism has actually helped you out.
Probably if I need to remember something from the past. Because if I ask him something from when I was 3, he'll probably know it like on the dot.
Why is that?
Because he has photographic memory, so his memory is insane.
If you're driving down a road and somebody wants to overtake you, do you speed up?
No.
Do you slow down? What's the best way to do it?
Try and slow down a bit and let them overtake you.
Okay, that's correct. It says you maintain a steady course and speed, slowing down if necessary to let the vehicle pass. Never obstruct drivers who wish to pass. Speeding up or driving unpredictably while someone is overtaking you is dangerous. Drop back to maintain a 2-second gap if somebody overtakes you.
Okay. Entry to 20-mile-an-hour zone.
Very good.
That is,
Next one.
hang on, let me see. 30 mile zone, no, 20 miles an hour zone ends and it's now 30.
Very good.
Maximum speed. Next one, national speed limit applies. Then it's a stop, school crossing sign, stop sign, give way. Manually operating temporary stop and go signs.
Are you reading through the black thing?
You didn't cross it out very well. You didn't cross it out very well.
Oh!
That's cheating.
That's hardly.
Right, where are we going?
We're off to the test centre.
How are you feeling?
A little nervous, but mostly I'm okay.
Are you prepared?
Yeah, prepared. Done theory every day so far.
Okay. What are you most worried about?
What questions are going to come up?
How'd you do?
I failed by 2 marks.
Oh, it's so annoying.
I know.
Alright, well you can take it again, can't you?
Yeah, I'm just annoyed. I really wanted to have it done now and out of the way.
Yeah.
Should be able to book it in about a week's time.
What did they say to you?
They couldn't tell me what I did wrong.
As expected, Jamie was very disappointed when he failed his test and was not really in the mood to discuss it with me. So I caught up with him the next day to see if after sleeping on it he felt any better. So, on reflection from failing your theory yesterday, what do you think you're going to do now to improve your skills to take the next one?
Probably just keep doing what I'm doing, because I was nearly there. I only failed by 2 marks, so I didn't do that bad. I've just got to continue what I'm doing and concentrate a bit more.
What do you think stopped you from passing it yesterday?
I don't know. I honestly think I did enough.
But
I don't know. These things come up.
were you disappointed yesterday?
Yeah, I was disappointed. I really wanted to get it done and out of the way.
Why is that?
I don't know, because the theory's the hard part. Once that's out of the way, you can just go ahead and book your practical.
Do you think you're ready for your practical?
Yeah, I'm a good driver. I think I'm ready for that.
Was there a couple of questions that you struggled on yesterday?
There were a few I wasn't too sure on, but now I found out what they are. It's now God, I didn't think.
What were they?
Stuff to do with signposts and stuff like that.
And now do you think, because you've looked them up, you'll remember them?
Hopefully.
So, when have you put your next one for?
It's in about 2 weeks' time.
Do you think you're ready for it?
Well, I better be. I've got the... yeah.
Brighten up even your darkest nights. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running to see you. What do you think the future holds for you?
At the moment, I'm not really sure what it holds for me. I hope something good, but no one can pray tell.
What do you want to achieve?
What do I want to achieve? I don't know really. I mean, I have certain goals that I'd like.
Like what?
Well, I want to pass my driver's test. Really, that's my main goal at the minute. I want my life to be good.
What's the dream job?
My dream job, something that involves art and childcare, really. Because art is like the main love of my life, and I'm great at childcare. I'm good with it, and the kids like me. So I don't know really at the minute. I mean, I honestly don't know what the future holds for me. Hopefully something good, but only time will tell.